Yes, kids. This reminds me of the Pink Panther. You know what I'm saying? Uh, maybe not. There was a movie where they did a street fight thing where they had lots of dancers. I can't think of the name of that movie. Gee, it's one of my wife's favorite movies where they sang about Puerto Rico and stuff like that. Da 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 da. What do we call it? Oh, West Side Story. Oh, what's up? What's up? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show, brought to you by the makers of life itself, the universe, our God and Creator. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power, liberation, first to the Republican and then the Democrat or socialist. According to Spike Lee, it doesn't really make a difference. Who knew? Ladies and gentlemen, so glad to be with you tonight. Big stories tonight, big information. We're also working on a big show for tomorrow. My wife reminded me last night. I got off the air, lying next to her in bed, and she said, "Ken, you never told anyone what the big story was." I apologize. I have to make up to you for that. I will let you know that after we begin. In the chat room, of course, Mrs. Biggs is watching via live stream and Ustream. Da 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 da. Mrs. Biggs is watching via live stream and Ustream. And of course, Mary Brockman, my bouncer, the official bouncer for the Exceptional Conservative Show, is in the chat room this hour. Love you, Mary. Smooches, glad to have you here. And for all of those who are tuning in around the world to the most influential urban conservative show in the world, I'm glad to have you here. You know what we do at this particular hour of the show? We find our right hand, we put it over our heart, and we do something that means so much to so many people around the world, most especially me. What a great nation we are. Benevolent people, kind and generous people. The most prosperous nation, the most powerful nation. And it's not because we are evil. We are distinctly exceptional. And you can match our nation against any other nation in the world. And while other nations are tremendously heritaged, great legacies, this nation was formed out of the breath of God, I believe. That's my belief. It doesn't have to be yours, but it's my belief. It really is. This nation that prospers because of capitalism, that is safe because of constitutionalism, that is principled because of conservatism, and then lastly, because of Christ made first amongst all brethren. That's why people climb walls and sail the seven seas and fly in to be citizens of this great nation. And so what we do at this particular hour today, take our right hand, we put it over our heart, we look for a flag, and I have a flag, and we pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
Paris, ready, begin. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Woo! That's the way you start it off, baby. And that's the way you should start your kids every morning before they go out to school. Find a flag and firstly, pray to God, and then secondly, pledge allegiance to the United States of America, protect the family, the friends. They'll be off to a better start. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you like the hat, Mary? What hat tip? Kim. Hat tip, Kim. All right, get a little closer there. It's the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Washington, D.C. There you go. Lots of big news tonight. First and foremost, Dave Milner, my very good friend, commonly known as Agador, uncommonly known as the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Great commentator. He and I have a great affinity for DC crime. We like to have it end, and we would like to see the grown-ups start running the city. Just saying, I would love to see the grown-ups start running the city instead of having conversations with people who say that, oh, you just want to lock people up. Okay, no, there are punishments for doing crime. If there weren't so, then what would be the deterrent? Apparently people don't want deterrence anymore. In a district, you used to remove your hat for the pledge. Oh, Mary, I apologize. I do apologize. If I've offended anyone, I apologize. The next time we do the pledge, I will take off my hat. I assure you that. Okay. This one offense, I pledge my undying desire for forgiveness. Forgive me. In terms of so sorry. In terms of what the big story was last night, one of the first goals of my particular program, Open Heart Closed Case, was to make certain that we pass legislation that would honor Relisha Rudd, a child who is critically missing from the District of Columbia. Parents voluntarily surrendered, or at least single parent mother voluntarily surrendered child to guardianship to the janitor of a homeless shelter, and we haven't seen her since. He killed himself and his wife, but we've never recovered Relisha Rudd. So thank you, Mary. So in this regard, while a lot of attention has been put on Shanice Milton, and these are two big international cases out of the District of Columbia, we want to first make certain that we can do what we can regarding the Relisha Rudd scenario and situation. And so I am working with my college alma mater, at least their law school, to write up the Relisha Rudd Act, in which there will be a penalty, a felony, of 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. I believe it's 10 or maybe $25,000 fine. If you do not report your child missing in the first 24 hours, or you do not report your child dead in the first 2 hours. So we're working on that right now, and it looks like by the beginning of next week we will have the actual act prepared for submission to the DC City Council and to city leaders, ANC leaders, and so on to consider and hopefully support. And that we could finally put, and I hate when people say, well, we're going to stop this forever. No, we're not going to stop it forever. But what we're going to do is put a deterrent in place against parents, depending on the state, to do something that parents must do for themselves. It's time for the grown-ups to take care. I know everybody wants to pay criminals not to commit crimes. I know. That's the cool thing. That's the end thing. But that's not going to work. So we need to make certain that people are responsible. And even though you have people who are actually drawing up the bill who are from a very liberal, and listen, David A. Clark Law School is a very liberal institution. They would prefer to make certain that every crime, including murder, ends with a slap on the wrist and maybe a talking to at the local ice cream shop. Don't do it. But listen, deterrent. The only deterrent in a society that's built on the rule of law is to enforce the rule of law and to apply the punishment that portends that we do live by rules of law. If we literally don't have any punishments for evil doing, then what the heck? Why do we need rules at all? Live and let live. Do what you want. And allow me to have a gun to fend off those who prefer to do what they want at my demise. Okay? It's amazing. So, again, thank you, University of District of Columbia, David A. Clark Law School. And I will not give the name of the professor who's working with me on that one because then people might get a little irate. But how dare you work with that conservative? Oh, clutch the pearls. Oh, Lord and Jesus. Oh, we're all just going to perish in pseudo hell. So, thank you all. And hopefully by the beginning of next week, I will have news for you as we move forward. Also, I want to give you some big news tonight regarding Chris Marquez. Now, if anyone doesn't know, Chris Marquez is a decorated Marine veteran. And I do mean, when you listen to his story, it's just simply amazing. He served in the Marine Corps from 2003 to 2011. And famously was photographed during the deployment helping carry then First Sergeant Bradley Casal out of a house in Fallujah. Casal was wounded and later received the Navy Cross. The photograph was later turned into a statue at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and Camp Pendleton, California, according to the Marine Corps Times. He is the recipient of the Bronze Star with Valor for actions in Fallujah. When he refused to leave a badly wounded Marine behind, even under heavy gunfire, the Marine Corps Times reports. That's Chris Marquez. That's one of our great young men. That's one of our soldiers. That's one of those guys who, you want to send your kids to the Peace Corps because you don't want anything to happen to them, but you don't mind the little other guys. They're supposed to go fight. yeah, they don't have anything to look forward to. Go on over and fight. That's the way a lot of people think. But, especially if you are John Kerry, Secretary of State. But he was a hero who was harshly treated at a McDonald's in Washington, D.C. You know, I reported on this last week. And pseudo hell for progressives as a cruise rally. I love you, Dave. Well, on Monday, 2 juveniles were arrested for their assault of the decorated Marine, who were Black Lives Matter radicals. And while they have not yet been charged with a hate crime, they should be because of what they did to Chris Marquez. Chris Marquez was sitting there eating his McDonald's meal by himself, not bothering anybody. And he decided, hey, leave me alone. Guys come over. They start calling him, asking him if Black Lives Matters. And quite frankly, berating the guy. Listen, I just want to eat here alone. Leave me alone. So they start calling him a racist, and they start taunting him and calling out of his name. He finishes his meal. He gets up. He's walking out. You can see this on the videos. He's walking out, and one of the guys takes something and slaps him on the back of his head, knocking him down and unconscious. And while the video is rolling outside, they start kicking him and beating him. They take his wallet, they take his goods, his watch, they take his stuff, leaving him. Now, I notice that they're not hurrying to call this a hate crime. I suppose if a white person who's minding his own business is leaving a store and is being taunted by Black Lives Matter radicals, that's not a hate crime. That's okay. So just that's not a hate crime. But a thug, 6'4", 300-pound thug, strong arm robbing a convenience store person. Now that, my friends, is a hate crime. No, not against a convenience store person. Against him. Yeah. Racist. He should have just handed over the cigars and let it go. So this is what the police and the Metropolitan Police Department reports today. Arrest made in aggravated assault and robbery, 900 block of East Street Northwest. Detectives from the Metropolitan Police Department's 1st District announced 2 arrests have been made in an aggravated assault. Wow, it's something about these terms. Really something about these terms. It's an aggravated assault for right now. At 900 block of East Street Northwest on Friday, February 12, 2016, at approximately 9:40 p.m., a victim was exiting a restaurant in the area. We'll call it McDonald's because that's what it was. When he was assaulted by Suspect 1. Suspect 2 then proceeded to take a wallet that carried a student identification card, credit cards, and cash from the victim's pocket. A 3rd suspect also assaulted the victim. The suspects then fled the scene. On Monday, February 22nd, 2016, 1st District detectives and the Criminal Interdiction Unit arrested a 17-year-old juvenile male of Northwest Washington, D.C., and a 17-year-old juvenile female of Northwest Washington, D.C. The juvenile male was charged with aggravated assault, and the juvenile female was charged with robbery. No hate crime. A little early in the investigation. Could have been hate. The investigation into this offense is ongoing. Anyone who has information regarding this case should call police at 202-727-9099 or text tip line at 50411. There's a $1,000 reward to anyone who provides information. Wow, $1,000 for a hate crime. I bet you if he was black, it'd be something totally different. And the offenders were white. I'm just saying. I can say that because I'm a conservative in urban America. Just saying. Dave is asking, have either Clinton or Sanders commented on this crime? No, it doesn't fit. Especially when the president's meeting with Black Lives Matter in the White House. Did you get him? Did you hit him? Mary says, justly, have Trump or Cruz. How about Rubio? These are issues that conservatives don't talk about because the GOP is not in urban America. Just let them go ahead and kill yourselves. Maybe if all the liberals kill themselves, we'll have an opportunity to come in and sweep the elections. So no, none of those people are going to comment on this particular stuff. And certainly the most disappointing thing is that this happened right before the president met with Black Lives Matter at the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, I think I've done all of the big news stories that I'm going to do for now. On Tuesday nights, Janis Hall, J Hall World Report, joins us at 10 p.m. We will be talking with her. And also, in the meantime, we'll be talking about the 16th Amendment and that there are a lot of... I got another piece here. Ted Leonsis is a U.S. judge about Clinton. Oh, my God. This is how you know you're getting big time. Because you got a lot more stuff than you probably have time to talk about. But we're going to try to do our very best. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. That's Washington, D.C. to you and me. And certainly we're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialist. I'm your host, Kim McClinton, and we will be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage. They cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Once the fish is ready, then our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused heat burgers. So we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80/20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're gonna grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat and cook on that. We're gonna add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit. Order up!
Yeah, baby. It is time to order up. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. 301-449-9000. Infused.com, Infused Restaurant. It is one of the best restaurants in Washington, D.C. You never heard of it, probably because you've never gone, or maybe you're listening to the show for the first time. Well, make sure that you get out there. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. Talk about great food, great people. Derek Williams, awesome job. And I hope to see it infused in Chicago, one in New York, one in ATL, Dallas, LA. Because when I'm traveling to all these places, I want to eat very good food, and infused comforts me. I really love their food. So 301-449-9000, infused.com. Also, ladies and gentlemen, as we're talking about the 16th Amendment, I want you to understand that there are those who have been working feverishly to attempt to take away your basic freedom. And they've been doing this for a very, very long time. Extremely long time. What I want to do for you right now is I want to play a clip for you. It's called 16th Amendment, and I want to thank Jules Dago, who put it on YouTube. But there's a problem with the income tax. Now, I know that there are other historians out there that would say, well, Abraham Lincoln taxed the Civil War. Yes, he did. First and foremost, his tax only lasted long enough to pay off the Civil War, which he did in 2 years. And secondly, it was not a graduated income tax. Some of you are graduating into Marxism and don't even know it. When we come back after this clip, I want to talk with you about communism, the manifesto, and how far up Karl Marx, Julius Maximus we have become as a nation.
It all began with an idea. The idea of a tax to soak the rich. That idea quickly took root among the public and liberals of both major parties, and ultimately brought us the 16th Amendment. In the spirit of Soak the Rich, Democrats introduced several bills to provide a higher tax on higher incomes. However, the conservative branch of the Republican Party made sure the bills never passed the Senate. Democrats used the Republicans' non-support of the bills to their benefit as evidence that the Republicans were the party of the rich and should be thrown out of power. This put pressure on William Taft, who was president at the time, and though he was against the income tax, he acknowledged it as all right in principle in political speeches. In April 1909, Senator Joseph Bailey, a conservative Southern Democrat who was actually opposed to the income tax, became the culprit of its creation. In an attempt to further embarrass the Republicans, he created another income tax bill which was similar to those which had been introduced in the past. This would force Republicans to openly oppose another income tax bill and further label Republicans as party of the rich. Expecting the usual opposition, Bailey introduced his bill. However, to his dismay, Teddy Roosevelt and many liberals in the Republican Party came out in favor of the bill. In fear that the bill might actually pass, Senator Nelson W. Aldrich of Rhode Island, the Republican floor leader, frantically met with Senator Henry Cabot Lodge of Massachusetts and President Taft to work out a strategy to demolish the Bailey tax bill. Their strategy was to admit that they were in favor of an income tax, but only if it was an amendment to the Constitution. They knew it may get approval of the House and Senate, but were quite certain that it could be defeated in conservative states, 3/4 of which were required in order to ratify the amendment. On June 16, 1909, the Democrats were caught completely off guard by President Taft's message recommending a constitutional amendment to legalize federal income tax legislation. This threw liberals into an uproar, and Congress whole saw exactly what was happening and took to the floor to expose the scheme of the Republican leaders. But his concern wasn't necessary, as both politicians and the states were enamored with the idea of soak the rich. The Senate approved the 16th Amendment 77-0, and the House approved by a vote of 318-14. When Congressman S.E. Payne of New York, who had actually introduced the amendment to the House, saw that it might actually be ratified, he was horrified. He quickly went to the floor and denounced the bill he had sponsored, saying, "As to the general policy of an income tax, I am utterly opposed to it. I believe with Gladstone that it tends to make a nation of liars. I believe it is the most easily concealed of any tax that can be laid, the most difficult of enforcement, and the hardest to collect. That it is, in a word, a tax upon the income of honest men and an exemption to a greater or less extent of the income of rascals. And so I am opposed to any income tax whatever in time of peace. I hope that if the Constitution is amended in this way, the time will not come when the American people will ever want to enact an income tax except in time of war." So, the political strategy of the Republican leadership had backfired, and state after state ratified the Soak the Rich Amendment until it went into effect on February 12, 1913.
Soaking the rich, people. The Lord told us in the commandments not to be envious of anyone's gain, anyone good gain, or their property. However, we have been under a spiritual revolution in America. Well, anti-spiritual revolution in America, I would say, where individuals are envious, jealous of other people's wealth, and are told to punish them because they were successful. And in fact, what is upside down is that our founding fathers understood that a man, after all of his years, having weighed the cost and the imbalances of life, treacherous as many of our conditions are, if he were to earn his wealth, it was his. It didn't belong to anyone else. And why would I turn my nose towards my neighbor's wealth when God has given me the ability to make my own? But apparently, it's never been good enough, at least since a little bit before the Civil War and afterwards, for men to apply their convictions towards individual financial success. In fact, it is a sin in the eyes of the modern spiritualists, better known as the Marxists, that a man should actually have to fish in order to eat. Why not take the fish from the fishermen and redistribute it to those who, quote unquote, need it, and thus the fisherman, he's just doing his job. He is a cog in the wheel. He is the one who makes the situation better for us all. Of course, he doesn't get anything out of the deal, but everyone else gets his fish. Ladies and gentlemen, we are practicing Marxism, whether you believe it or not. Something that I'd wanted to talk about many times over the years. I think I have, but are we practicing communism is a good question. And so you're going to have to take a look at what Karl Marx did. And let's just take a look at 10 things regarding Karl Marx. And the graduated income tax is one of the things that lets you know that we are definitely practicing something our founding fathers did not want us to practice. According to the 16th Amendment, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes or incomes from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration. There you go, the 16th Amendment. You have decoupled the power of we the people from the Treasury. I know we all want to jump on Paul Ryan's back, and he deserves it. We all want to jump on the John McCains, and they deserve it, for allowing our tax dollars to be misappropriated and misused. But the bottom line is the 16th Amendment decoupled our power to govern the federal government regarding our wealth. It gave a central government, which I'm quite certain George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, everybody else is rolling over at speeds that would make the atom smasher jealous. Rolling over in their grave at the fact that we allowed merciless men with their party politics to take away our power and our wealth in one blow. Now, there are, of course, other constitutional provisions regarding taxes. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 goes, representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers. There was a fair apportionment. Ooh, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? Fair apportionment. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States, but all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. The emphasis being duties, imposts, and excises, not on taxes. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 4. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. And then Article 1, Section 9, Clause 5. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. Tax on property. So we're looking at you, the individual, you and your property, me as an individual, me and my property, and what we have done with the twiddling fingers of Socratic lawyers is allow them to take away the very freedoms by which we observe God giving us. Deuteronomy 8:18, God has given us the power to make wealth. You'll look at Numbers and you'll see that the land was divvied out amongst families. An inheritance to be. So, ladies and gentlemen, back in 1887, and we talked about this before in our show, but I want to get into greater detail about it. The Socialist Labor Party advocated for a graduated income tax. That's back in 1887, right after the Civil War. Because everyone could see exactly how much money was created through taxation through the Civil War. I mean, according to the Revenue Act of 1862, yes, we could create a lot of money and pay for war items. And wait a minute, the industrial military complex is being built right about here. Oh, you're beginning to see some connectivity here. The Socialist Labor Party advocated for a graduated income tax. The Populist Party demanded a graduated income tax in 1892 on their platform. The Democratic Party, led by William Jennings Bryan, advocated the income tax law passed in 1894. Notice how this is incrementally growing. From the Socialist to the Democrat. From the Socialist to the oh, wow, here we go. And proposed an income tax in its 1908 platform. 5 years later, the income tax is born. Pollock versus Farmers Loan and Trust Company. All income taxes had been considered to be indirect taxes imposed without respect to geography, unlike direct taxes that have to be apportioned among the states according to the population. That was before Pollock. After that, we get a graduated income tax. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. How far up Karl Marx have we gone? Well, Karl Marx said that there are 10 things that he needed to do in order to make sure that communism came to pass. This is according to the Communist Manifesto. The 10 things that have to take place. First and foremost, you have to destroy free enterprise, capital. You got to just unequivocally. It cannot. See, when liberals say utterly, we don't even cringe. And we won't even blow our trumpets. We won't say anything. But when we talk about utterly eliminating Planned Parenthood, oh my God. Woo! Lord Jesus! Oh my God! Oh, we're going to need a prayer session. 10 things had to take place. Number 10. Free education for all children in public schools. The abolition of children's factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. There is a graduated income tax, a farce, to produce or actually promote public schools. Now, many people say, well, public schools are necessary in order to make sure the kids learn. Really? Your kid today is dumber than most of the kids from the 1890s. And it would have to take a very ignoramus person to move from no tax to graduated income tax. The role of the public schools was necessary for the socialists to involve themselves in the miseducation and de-education of the American populations. Just saying. Free education has killed our educational system. Now, some people say, well, what you want to replace it with, Ken? You want poor people to pay for stuff? Well, gee, yeah. Poor people do. They pay taxes too. Number 9, a combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries. Gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country by a more equitable distribution of population over the country. Anyone hear of Agenda 21? Just saying. Just saying. Allowing public law, zoning ordinances to come under the sterile practices of socialists. Ta-da! There's no town, there's no country. It's just all one place. Then you have equal liability of all to labor, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. That was number 8. Let me put it another way. Seattle, how's that minimum wage increase working for you? Yes, the acceptance of a minimum wage, the acceptance of Social Security. I know I'm not your biggest fan right now because I just spoke against Social Security. But it was a socialist way to tax both the employer and the employee and to use those monies without a lockbox. Then, of course, you have affirmative action and other assorted trials of the socialists. Number 8, equal liability of all to labor. I'm sorry, number 9 and number 7, extension of factories and instruments of production owned by the state, the bringing into cultivation of wastelands, and the improvement of the soil generally in accordance with a common plan. Like that common plan, controlled or subsidized is the term that's often used by the Marxist theorists. If we would just subsidize the energy, solar energy, we could really check. No, you're not. And how do we know that a centralized control group are manning and controlling our lands and manning and controlling our monies and our wealth? National Park Service, the IRS, the Bureau of Reclamation, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Mines. You get the picture. Department of Commerce and Labor. You get the picture. Government has eased its way in. Centralization of the means of communications and transportation in the hands of the state. Ever hear of the Federal Communications Commission? Ever hear of the Department of Transportation? In their hands, they control how we communicate. And then there's the centralization of credit in the hands of the state. A national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. Oh, we call that the Federal what? Reserve. Federal Reserve Act 1913 established fiat paper. We just print the stuff. It doesn't have anything behind it. What do you need, Larry? Another 100 million? Take that. Let it rain. Let it rain. Number 4, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. Sweden's doing it now. They call it tax liens, asset forfeiture laws. Yeah. Number 3, abolition of all rights of inheritance. Federal and state estate taxes, probate laws, all working to take your wealth away from you. What else did Communist Manifesto Karl Marx need? Number 2, he needed a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. We got that in 1913. We also got the Social Security Act, which was a tax against your income, 1936. Can you imagine all the money that the government taxed you out of? How much you would have now for retirement would probably be greater than the amount that they're paying you in Social Security. Did you ever really think about that? And then number 1, the abolition of private property and the application of all rents of land to public purposes. I don't know about you, but something must be completely unsettling to me when a man with his hands really up turns and gets blasted in the head by the FBI. Yeah, but you won't see white people walking down the street trying to stop you from Christmas shopping because One of the Bundy brothers is dead. Ladies and gentlemen, our Constitution clearly states that it is the federal government's responsibility to take the land and give it to the states so that the states could disseminate the land properly for usage. We have some issues. We have some problems. If you look at all 10 of those planks in the Communist Manifesto, we're practicing communism. It's a soft one, but they're hoping that you don't catch on. They're hoping that you think that the Republicans who soft-shoed their way into socialism back in the 1900s, in fact, who had bought on to the democratic stances from the 1880s and 1860s. They're hoping that you don't understand that this election really is about whether we're going to try to remove the Trojan virus of socialism, communism, and Marxism off our hardware called the U.S. Constitution, or if we are really going to watch the U.S. Constitution burn as Nero watched Rome burn one night while he played a fiddle. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk with you about the Civitas Institute. They have a conservative leadership conference I'll be attending next week. Ted Leonsis, who is a great wonder when it comes to using public money for his own good. We have more Hillary Clinton and even, I promise you, tax stuff. We're going to talk about that in the fourth quarter. There is too much. We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show on SHR Media, Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Rebooting Liberty, and High Plains Talk Radio.
Right swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe. Right swipe.
It counts for my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. Oh my god, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm not type. If you're good in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bow down. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag perplexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo with his green eyes. Pretty face, tight waist, nice body. But I just couldn't overlook one small fact.
She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type, and I'm not type. If you're gone in a cloud of smoke, I just left swipe. Bow down, I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger
Left swipe that.
while you're on a hang glider.
Left swipe that. Smoking while acting healthy. Left swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy.
Left swipe that. Smoking with a duck face.
Let's swipe that. At a monster truck race. Let's swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Let's swipe that. Even at a photo bomb.
He don't care.
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
I know you're watching, so pay attention. You hate my freedom, my religion, and my country. You hate me for speaking my mind. You try to control me with violence and intimidation. You think you can muzzle me with fear? Don't ever confuse me for my politicians or my media. I am an American, free-born and free-bred. And I will call you out for who you are. An Islamic extremist who would kill me for my beliefs. You don't intimidate me.
I should've known you
My
were
freedom
bad
is more
news.
powerful
From
than
the bad
anything
news
monster
and
did.
cat, so
And I will never.
no skies on the road. But I'm inside
Just like
you.
millions
You
of
gotta
other
bet you.
women.
Either
That's
way
what I
though, I
have
think
done.
it was.
We're responsible, we're law-abiding, and we're everything that makes America strong. Every day, we're willing to use a firearm to defend our families. But the media will never tell those stories. If a mom puts a gun to the face of a home-invading thug and makes him run for his life, the story gets buried. But if she's unarmed and murdered, the cameras will be at the scene before the police. It's time for moms like me to speak out. We are the majority. We demand the freedom to defend our families. And we challenge the media to tell the truth about our rights. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the most exceptional conservative show in the world. In fact, so exceptional, we actually called it the Exceptional Conservative Show. Live from the nation's capital, I'm yours truly, the exceptional one, Kevin McClinton. Mary Brockman is my bouncer. She's in the chat room tonight. Joined by Golf Dogs, Ron. Ron, it's always good to have you in the chat room. And as well, Dave Milner, the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Pardon me, Mrs. Biggs is watching via live stream and Ustream. Wow. I'm telling you, the IBC root beer I'm drinking is the best root beer in the world. I'm not trying to give any, I don't get any advertising dollars from saying it, but bottom line is the truth. IBC root beer is just awesome. I love it. I will be, next week, I will be actually leaving my day job. And avoiding my night job. I will not be doing a live show next Thursday night. Just to let you all know. Not this Thursday, but next Thursday night, we will not have a live show. Just alerting those people along the networks, those at SHR Media, those at, High Place Talk Radio, Rebooting Liberty, Conservative Commandos Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, we will not be here on Thursday. You see, just when you want the thing to work, it doesn't work. Okay. Thursday, March the 3rd, we will not be live on the air. You will probably be listening to some rerun. Hopefully they do a rerun from the 1960s when I started doing this. But I will be... Mrs. Biggs will be back here. I know for a fact that she will be celebrating the fact that she has the house to herself in peace. But we will be at the Civitas Institute, forgive me, and that will be March 4th and 5th down in Cary, North Carolina. And when I say we, a lot of the trailblazers, we attended Raynard Jackson's Trailblazer event, and Jim Anthony got up from Civitas and invited all of us. It was Jim Anthony, it was Jim Matthews. I think it was Jim Matthews. Got up and invited all of us to attend Civitas, and we took him up on the offer. So many of us will be flying out of our day jobs traveling down to Cary, North Carolina, to enjoy the leadership conference that they have scheduled. And again, that's March 4th through 5th. I do believe that they still have tickets available if you wish to attend. The vision of the Civitas Institute is of a North Carolina whose citizens enjoy liberty and prosperity derived from limited government, personal responsibility, and civic engagement. They believe in empowering citizens, educating, and informing. And so we're looking forward to it. Listen, the event gets started on that Friday at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to be driving about 5 hours down right after work through rush hour traffic in Washington and Richmond. It's going to be fun! I'm going to get there pretty late, but God bless us. I know that we will travel and we will be at peace, and I know God will be with us. And Friday morning, 7:30 a.m., it gets started. There are breakfast sessions. There's a very long lunch period. I think it's like a 2-hour lunch period. I'm going to go back to my room and take a crash nap. And I will alert you also that I will not be doing Conservative Commandos Radio Network next Friday either. So it's going to be a very quiet week after Wednesday night. So I will not be there. There's even a cigar reception between 9:30 and 10:30 on Friday night. So I'm really looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful time there. It will be late, and I didn't get a chance to tell my wife, but I'm going to have to advise her. Apparently, presidential candidates will be coming in, and so it will be a very late Saturday night. So I may have to stay an additional night and get back on Sunday afternoon. Because I'll be covering all of that. But the bottom line is that at all of those particular events, there'll be some major presidential candidates coming through. They're expecting it, so it'll be a very late Saturday night. So hopefully I'll get up on Sunday morning, be able to go to church and come back here to Washington, D.C. But that's what I'm expecting to happen, and have a good time at the Civitas Institute. Again, that is the Conservative Leadership Conference, and it's scheduled for March 4th and 5th in Cary, North Carolina. If you want more details, all you need to do is go to CIVITASCLC.com. That's CIVITASCLC.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have some time, if you have some patience, if you want to get through rush hour traffic to get down there, like me, then I encourage you. Come on down. And I'm actually putting this in the chat roll. Okay. For those who wish to follow along at home. Okay, so we're putting that in the chat roll. Thank you, Dave. Dave is wishing me a safe journey. And so I know everyone else is as well. So thank you so much. Also at CPAC. Well, since I'm running down this list of announcements, I might as well. CPAC is coming up. CPAC 2016. CPAC 2016, the event that Marco Rubio is planning on skipping. True. Very true. Happens to be March 2nd through the 5th. I have news for my very good friend, Rick Trader. I'm going to have to let him know I will not be at CPAC this year because I will be down at Civitas. I'm so sorry. But I will not be at CPAC this year. I wish I could, but I can't. And they got some great speakers there. Mia Love will be speaking. And presidential candidates will plow through. But I will not be at CPAC this year. And I don't think CPAC will miss me. But CPAC is Wednesday, March the 2nd, Thursday, March the 3rd, Friday, March the 4th, and Saturday, March the 5th. I thought it was later, but no. Civitas is going on at the same time as CPAC, so I will not be at CPAC this year. God bless those who will be in attendance. I don't even believe that you have to be a conservative to go to CPAC anymore. I don't believe it is. I will be in North Carolina, people. running out of time in this particular segment. Just want to say this real quick. Ted Leona says he compares DC's lack of free Wi-Fi to Flint's water crisis. Yes, people, you who have no Wi-Fi are suffering like the people of Flint, Michigan. Thank you, Ted Leonsis. One more time. As soon as an individual gets some tax money, boy, do their minds go to the cropper. I'm just saying. Just saying. We'll be right back right after this small break. Da-da-da-da-da. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and take that weave off. Take off your hat. Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show, the second half. We are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to do it right. We're taking off our hats. We are putting our hands over our heart. Allow the children to lead us.
Say so, parents. Ready, begin. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yay! There we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is so good to give credit where credit is due. We love those little kids doing it every night for us on the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. That's Washington, D.C. I'm your host, the Exceptional one, Ken McClinton, talking about the issues that matter most in our culture. Individualism, family, business, education, government, and faith. You can all find it all here. And on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m., you can also find what we truly love most, and that is Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report, as she joins us.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com.
There we
There is
go.
one other participant in the conference. Please announce yourself.
You are listening live to the Exceptional Conservative Show, and we introduce to some and present to others the beautiful, the brilliant Janis Hall. J Hall World Report begins. Ladies and gentlemen, Janis Hall.
Hi, Ken.
Hello, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, and how are you?
Doing very well indeed. It's so good to always have you on Tuesday nights. Listen, I hear tell that the Obama administration is thinking about some creative uses for the soccer field that was built at Gitmo. So
Yes. Yes, they are.
Tell us all about it.
Okay, so Obama is trying to close Gitmo, which is nothing new. He's been wanting to do this for years, but he hasn't. And now he's finally going to be leaving office, thankfully, relatively soon. He's like, oh, I got to do that before I leave. So he has submitted a plan that would basically close the prison. And part of this plan is to relocate people that are already there, which they've already been trying to do for several years now. And everybody that they basically can't relocate to another country or free, they'd want to move to the U.S. It sounds like a brilliant idea.
So, move the most radical people on the face of the earth into prisons in America.
Right. Now, I will say that, logistically speaking, I'm not actually concerned for the security, okay? Like, they're in the U.S., I'm sure that the security for them is going to be fine, okay?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's ridiculous to say, well, I want to do this great thing and close this prison and take care of these people, but I'm not actually going to be doing any of that because they're still going to be prisoners. They're just going to be prisoners in a different location.
Apparently, 70% of the people that they have released from Gitmo have returned back to the battlefields.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now he wants to close. Is this really his overall plan when he visits Cuba to try to hand Gitmo back to Cuba?
Probably, because he seems to think that if you just give people things, that they'll like you.
Yeah. Why not give?
They won't want to then take advantage of you.
Exactly. So give Fidel Castro and his good brother Raul Castro a great soccer field that we spent millions of dollars building for Muslim radicals.
Yeah.
Brilliant! You gotta love President Obama. You gotta love him. But also, one of the big stories that's breaking tonight, and you've been following Southeast Asia, especially the crisis created by the man-made lands of the Chinese in the South China Sea. But very seriously, they attempted to do something tonight that might set off military actions across Southeast Asia. It was China sending fighter jets to contest an island that they possess in South China Sea. Can you tell us all about that?
Yes, well, I mean, basically you said it right there. The Chinese have sent fighter jets to their islands that they built in the South China Sea. And so while their foreign minister, their Secretary Kerry equivalent is in the U.S., hearing some of the dialogue that's coming out of both of them is really quite hilarious, because Kerry says, well, we don't like that it's becoming a military zone, and we don't think that you should be there. And then the Chinese say, well, we don't think that you should be there, and we don't think you should be involved. It's really quite comical. They're saying basically the exact same thing to each other. And somehow one of them is supposedly supposed to be right, of course.
Of course. But this is truly dangerous, because President Obama just got back from last week the talks in Southeast Asia about the very same problem, those lands, and that most of the nations in Southeast Asia had it up to cheer with China building islands in the middle of the sea. And there's another big story about them in those islands. Can you break that for us tonight?
I'm sorry, what? The islands, sorry.
Yeah.
They are also sending radar to the islands as well, the Chinese say. Yeah.
Wait, it's okay.
Yeah.
So
they want to be able to protect those islands better.
Well, if you put
their South China Sea.
Exactly. So if you put radar on an island that already has landing spots, what do you call that? It's a military base, right?
It's a military base. There's a general term for that. Accurate phrase to describe what's happening there.
So they're building military bases in the middle of the South. First and foremost, kudos. That's brilliant thinking there. I got to give it up to y'all. That's brilliant.
It kind of is actually. Yeah.
So they're building Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll add one more thing to this. And not only is the fact that they're building these military bases out there in the ocean is a brilliant idea, but the pace at which they're doing it is also very good, because they've been very slow and methodical about this. And with each new endeavor, we'll say,
yes,
they let the world community get used to it, right? So it's like, we don't like it. They're building islands. We're not going to do anything. That's unfortunate. They built islands. Oh, now they're sending military aircraft. Oh, that's unfortunate. They shouldn't do that, but we're not going to do anything about it. And so it just continues until they're basically able to get exactly what they want in that region. And it's probably not going to be, too much longer. And eventually they'll say, oh, by the way, we just want the whole South China Sea for ourselves.
Bingo.
And at this point, they'll basically already have it, because they'll have their entire, all of their military bases there with their radar and their aircraft.
We're talking with Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. You know we do this every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The reason is that Janis is incredible in terms of bringing the world issues to the kitchen table, making us better understand what's going on. But in all seriousness, our eyes have been focused on the Middle East and on the refugee crisis in Europe. This is starting to blow up.
Yeah, it is. And I think some people saw that this would cause a lot of problems and a lot of division and a lot of chaos in Europe when it first started happening. So what I would like to speak about today is that Greece is really unhappy. And you know what? Greece has every right to be really unhappy.
Yes.
So they basically all of Europe has said, so we're going to build a fence and we're going to cut you off. And so you're just going to have to deal with all of these so-called refugees who are coming into your country that you can't stop, and then we're not going to assist with.
Whoa!
And even though you can't actually even deal with your own economy and your own people, you're somehow going to be expected to deal with all of these people who are actually trying to get to our countries, but we don't want them. So they're going to have to stay with you.
Oh my God! So virtually, they're all putting up fences around Greece.
Right. Because if you can get into Greece, basically, yeah. They don't want anybody who happens to get into Greece to somehow make it onto their lawn.
Now, is it Greece's fault that this is happening, or is it German Chancellor?
No.
What's her name?
It is Merkel's fault. Basically, all of these people are essentially trying to get to her country.
Yes!
She and the rest of Western Europe have essentially invited them in to some degree. And they have been incredibly, open and encouraging to have them come. And so they are. And now they're actually faced with the prospect of what they've done. And they realize that it wasn't such a good idea to have all of them come to their countries. And then they all of a sudden want to make this somebody else's problem.
Oh, it sucks to be Greece.
It does. And I'll say one other thing, just to kind of tie it into conservatism. I mean, I know that a lot of conservatives are sometimes used as being a little heartless, right? It's like, oh, we don't care for the plight of others and things like that. It's not that we don't care about the plight of others. We don't care about the refugee situation. It's that we understand that there are limits to what one can actually do to assist.
You're exactly right. And there is a process of moderation that's acceptable. You don't go from taking 10,000 people into your country on an annual basis to 800,000 people overnight and not expect there to be a sincere problem along the way.
Exactly.
You know, Greece and Italy are facing, I mean, wave after wave after wave of radical Muslim, which brings me to this question. Why would the Pope make a statement about building walls and criticism of American presidents when Europe is about to build a wall around Greece and possibly even Italy?
I think that, and this is one thing where I do disagree with generally with Rome, we'll say, and that is the Catholicism has, for a few decades now, been very interested in, not having any type of border control, and even in the U.S., they've been, pretty staunchly opposed to anything that would limit or essentially not make the illegal Mexicans who are coming into the country leave or not be able to come in. So this is just somewhat of an extension of that. And I mean, to some degree, yes, I do realize where they're coming from. They want, people to have freedom. They want, people to be able to move to other locations. They don't want, arbitrary lines to, determine the fate of people. And I understand that. But at the same time, we also have to be very practical. And we can't necessarily, build policy and, plans based on, what we would hope would be a perfect world.
You know what's really sad about this is you visited Greece. You know how impoverished it's becoming. You can see the stresses amongst its own citizenry economically. And now to have an invasion of upwards of 1 million people coming through Greece, and some of them not being able to go back home, and certainly won't be able to go to the north. This is an invasion. In any other manner, this is an invasion. And the lives of the Grecians are perishable. They are really becoming a crisis in and of themselves.
It is. And, I mean, not only is Greece, economically can't handle the people, but Greece in and of itself doesn't even have that large of a population. So if you have the same number that are going into, say, Germany, that has a much larger population, it's proportionately less. And probably, still probably have, they clearly are still having issues with the numbers that they have, let in. They are more able to deal with it than, say, a country like Greece, who has, a much lower population.
Exactly.
And we haven't heard any stories coming out of Greece, about, situations with, some of the refugees there. But I imagine that we will.
Exactly. There's only so much time before you hear stories of refugees and radicals and Mohammedans laying in the middle of a highway to stop commerce. Sooner or later, it will come to Greece. Mary Brockman says Obama is a Trojan horse. I think in this particular case, he is certainly one of the Trojan horses. I want to talk with you about Turkey as well, because off the conversation of Gitmo, and knowing that all of these individuals leave Gitmo and go back into the war against civilization, what is happening with Turkey, who is bravado says that they can invade Russia and destroy it in 7 days? What are they doing?
Well, it came out recently that apparently some Turkish border officers have actually been cooperating with ISIS in terms of essentially smuggling. So, and this should be concerning for all involved, that essentially we have, Turkey, which we, for all intents and purposes, should be able to rely upon and should be our ally, even if they don't like Russia very much. We should be able to rely on them that they will keep, their border secure, that they will keep ISIS in check at that, essentially at that location, at that border. And if we have, the Turkish military, and I'm not going to say that in general the Turkish military is a problem, okay? But if we have some people who are a problem, and this is, there's any type of, if this is in any way systemic, then that is definitely going to be a huge problem, because, they can just go right onto Turkey and into the rest of Europe.
Yeah. There's so many dangerous stories that are festering here. So many pots on the stove that are beginning to simmer over. And it makes you wonder exactly how are the candidates going to respond to some of these particular issues. I mean, how many of the presidential candidates are beginning to speak out about the crisis created by Obama and Merkel in Europe? And how many of them are speaking out against the Gitmo thing or for it? Are any of the presidential candidates talking about those particular issues?
Well, they're definitely talking about it now since Obama came out with his plan. And I mean, it was pretty much as you expected. Sanders and Clinton were, yes, we should definitely close it. It's high time. And Cruz and Rubio also, came out and spoke about it as well as Trump, and they were, very staunchly against it. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's a huge surprise there. But yeah, no, I think that they probably will talk about it. I think with Scalia dying, that they'll probably also talk, they'll probably be talking about the Supreme Court as well now. Not that that's particularly an international relations issue, but I think it'll definitely be brought up. Mm-hmm. And I think the refugee situation is also going to be talked about probably eventually. And it might not be talked about, too much right now because it's still generally seen as a European problem. But I think that, as we progress, in the campaign, that, we will start to get to some of these issues and, and how it affects not only Europe, but how it could potentially affect us too.
Exactly. And foreign policy is going to come back around. I know a lot of people are talking about the budget, things of that nature, but foreign policy is going to come back around very quickly. I want to go to a story real quick because I care about women, and I do care about women, don't I, Janis? See, thank you. I got proof. So. But there is, because every year, in order for the world, whatever the medical group is that's part of the UN, in order for them to get funding, they have to have a crisis. The new crisis is the sexually transmitted Zika. Apparently, there are 14 new cases in the U.S. Now, is this really overblown, or is this a serious issue that we as conservatives need to be thinking about?
It's not a hugely serious issue currently. I think to some degree it is overblown now that Ebola basically seems to have kind of been controlled. We now must be looking towards the next disease.
Janis, when it comes out of your mouth, it just seems so really pathetic. We're looking for a new disease to replace Ebola. We need something new. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, just 14 cases, let's be honest, is not a particularly significant number. Not that Zika isn't important, not that disease isn't important, and especially those, transmitted by mosquitoes. And there are plenty of diseases that, are definitely creeping up, I guess, towards the U.S. That's just the nature of the beast, right? But I guess my argument here is that, generally speaking, spread of disease is important. That is true.
Yes.
Is Zika more important than perhaps others? Maybe not so much.
Maybe not so much. But the World Health Organization will tell us otherwise, that we should be running and looking at the clouds falling from the sky as a result of Zika, or however we were going to say it tonight. But I want to go to one other quick story. Because we're running out of time, and we just love Janis being with us on Tuesday nights. Apparently, in Africa, there is a problem with a World Bank staffer. Why is there a problem with this particular World Bank staffer, and what is his relationship to Obama?
Okay. So, he, from the reports that seem to be coming out, he is a racist and has a problem with black people. And
no, Obama could not have possibly picked a racist.
No, it's impossible. And part of the problem, of course, related to Obama is that he was appointed by Obama. He was Obama's pick. And for him now to be essentially deemed, a racist, and they've actually been full-on complaints filed against him, is that's Obama's pick right there.
This is Obama's pick, Dr. Jim Yong Kim, who is the president of the World Bank.
Yes.
And a super donor with the Democratic Party. Apparently, he has.
He's super in with the Clintons.
Yes, he is. He's a benefactor.
He knows where to put the money.
Yes, he does. And the reason why I'm laughing about that is that this person picked by Barack Hussein Obama as the World Bank president actually compared Africans to animals and basically denigrated an individual by stating that he could not have possibly been as educated as he said he was on his resume because he was an African. This is ow! You gotta love this. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy, Barack Hussein Obama, picking a racist to run the World Bank. Janis, we thank you for being with us tonight. And you are with us every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Can you tell America what is the next big story that they should be looking at? Is it China? Is it the Middle East? Is it simply that we can pick another racist, possibly for the Supreme Court?
Possibly.
Possibly. What's the next big story?
Great. You know what? I'm still really interested to see how this whole fence idea goes with Greece and the rest of Europe. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is, and it's terrifying too. In all seriousness,
yes,
very terrifying when you have virtually all of Europe has turned its back on Greece economically, and now materially when it comes to the refugees. God bless Greece. I pray remedy soon. Janis Hall, the J Hall World Report. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Janis Hall is the official world news commentator of the Exceptional Conservative Show. We'll be back right after this with more of the best in urban conservative talk.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage that we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thigh as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And once the fish is ready, then our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused sweet burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, nice half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, make certain that when you come to CPAC, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748, 301-449-9000. Make someone take you from CPAC to the Infused Restaurant. I will not be here. I will be in Cary, North Carolina for Sevenus. But you all will be here for CPAC. Go there, eat. The food is great. Absolutely great.
I'm a good person. I never bothered anybody. But I can't afford a nice house in a safe neighborhood. I live in a government high-rise. Gangbangers and drug dealers walk down our halls every day. My neighbors and I were scared. We called the police, but they can't keep us safe. Some of us are too afraid to even leave our apartments. But the housing authority told me if I bought a gun to protect myself, they throw me to the streets. If I'm not free because of my address today, what makes you think you'll be free tomorrow? I marched behind Martin Luther King at Selma. I know my rights. Now I have my gun. I am the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the very best in urban conservative talk, the Exceptional Conservative Show. And despite technical difficulty, I had planned on playing the Unpleasant Blind Guys promo. We will skip that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We will skip that, and we will try something completely and totally different. In fact, what we're going to do is go to our fourth quarter of our program, where there are no station breaks, there are no more commercials. This is it. We're going out and we're going to win the final quarter. How I know? Because the victory is already promised. Ladies and gentlemen, a U.S. judge has ordered discovery to go forward over Clinton's private email system. I just want to make that pertinently clear to all of you that Hillary may not be the president of the United States. I know what you're thinking. And actually, it might work out for the evangelical conservatives who don't want to vote for Donald Trump. If Hillary has to jump out of the race, certainly Bernie Sanders could not possibly beat a capitalist like Donald Trump. So you don't have to vote, and Donald Trump will still win. I'm not even a fan of Donald Trump, but the numbers are beginning to look that way. And someone came out with this ingenious concept that Marco Rubio would be the vice president to Donald Trump, and that Ted Cruz would be the Supreme Court justice. There's some inkling about Ted Cruz, Supreme Court justice, that I believe. Marco Rubio, vice president, I don't think so. But let me digress back to the story. Spencer Hugh put the story out at 4:02 p.m. in the Washington Post. My goodness, why I have water and everything else here, and everything's just drying out all of a sudden. Okay. But Hillary Rodham Clinton may be spending some time behind bars. In fact, a judge is threatening a subpoena against Hillary Clinton over, they are accusing her of bad faith. They are saying that this young woman is not on the up and up. I know it's hard for us to believe. I don't even know why they would even accuse her of lying. I mean, but apparently, a federal judge on Tuesday ruled that the State Department officials and top aides to Hillary Clinton should be questioned under oath. Now, I want to get you. I want to put this into the chat room right here. That's the Times article. I haven't put out the Post article. The Post article was written by Spencer Sue, and that was at 4:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Washington Post. So if you can find that clip, please put it in there for me. But there is a questioning or a desire to question Hillary Clinton under oath about whether they intentionally thwarted federal open records laws by using or allowing the use of a private email server throughout Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013. Okay? And the decision by U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan of Washington came in a lawsuit over public records brought by Judicial Watch. Give it up for Tom. Tom's done a great job over there at Judicial Watch. A conservative legal watchdog group regarding its May 2013 request for information about the employment arrangement of Huma Abedin, a longtime Clinton aide. Now, officials with the State and Justice Department said that they were aware of the order but declined to comment further, citing the ongoing litigation. Discovery orders are not readily appealable. Discovery orders are not readily appealable. An attorney for Aberdeen declined to comment. This is serious. All the other stuff was just, legal gymnastics per se. You know, we do this, you do that, you do. But a judge is saying, let's proceed with discovery here. Let us move forward. Hillary should have been in jail a long time ago. I so agree with you, Golf Dogs. Okay, now, here we go now. How do you know that this might be very serious? Remember earlier in the month of February, the FBI were rumored to be in the process of indicting Hillary Clinton, going to the Department of Justice because they believed that they had enough. They listed her as a criminal interest. Sullivan set an April 12th deadline for parties to litigate a detailed investigative plan subject to court approval that would reach well beyond the limited and carefully worded explanations of the use of the private server that Department and Clinton officials have given. What he's saying is, open the door. We've been trying to investigate this through a crack. Okay, and we were trying to be just with you. For all you Black Lives Matter people, and since you coronate her, they were trying to be just with her. They were hoping that on good faith she would answer and that she would respond. That she would not be secretive. But she chose otherwise. And as a result, there's a judge that says, you know what? Screw it. We've tried this dance and we're not going to dance this way anymore. Now, if you want to be Trey Gowdy and do your thing, that's your thing. But this is a court, this serious business. We want to see all the stuff. Now, in a statement, Judicial Watch President Thomas Fitton called the ruling a major victory for the public and did not rule out that Clinton could become one of the current and former department officials whose testimony his group would seek. Fitton says, the court-ordered discovery will help determine why the State Department and Mrs. Clinton, even despite receiving numerous FOIA and requests, kept the record system secret for years. While Mrs. Clinton's testimony may not be required initially, it may happen that her testimony is necessary for the court to resolve the legal issues about her unprecedented email practices. What's that? Unprecedented? I am so tired of hearing that word. And I would be so happy when President Obama is gone from office. You would think after 8 years, there's nothing unprecedented under the sun. He, of course, will find something. Well, they are looking real seriously. Now, the FBI and the Department's Inspector General are continuing to look into whether the private setup mishandled classified information or violated other federal laws. Okay? In pursuing information about Aberdeen's role, Judicial Watch argued that the only way to determine whether all official records subject to its request were made public was to allow it to depose and submit detailed written questions about the private email arrangement to a slew of current and former top State Department officials, Clinton aides, her attorneys, and outside parties. Did y'all ever notice that on Watergate, when stuff started really breaking down and they began to invite questioning of people people began to give up other folk? This is what's going to happen, and everyone knows is what's happening. When it was just Hillary, that was fine. She's Teflon Don. Nothing would ever strike her. She's all right. No one will ever hurt her. But when you start investigating other folk who don't have millions of dollars or carte blanche kind of power and authority and influence, when little Joe Blow starts getting these questions from the FBI, you kind of quiver. Yeah, I'm not going to jail for anybody. So I'm going to start talking. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want you all to be so proactive this year that you break the Internal Revenue Service. I don't want you to wait for Ted Cruz to be president of the United States forgive me, and for him to get a Congress that's conservative enough to eliminate the 16th Amendment. I don't want you waiting for that. Don't wait for that. I want to give you some tax deductions, and especially for my Blog Talk Radio cohorts. You own your own radio station. You do interviews. You are a journalist, citizen journalist. Places you keep up with the news. You do commentary. You bring folks together. You cover stories that most people wouldn't. Even if they could, they wouldn't. You cover it, and it becomes news later on for everyone else. You are a Schedule C or CEZ filer. That's what you are. You are a small business person. And I always wondered, people always say, Ken, hey, why are you getting trademarked? Because I see this as a business. I may not make a lot of wealth out of it. And most of it, at the end of the day, I laud the principle of it all. See, in poverty, I can relate to principle. In wealth, I can relate to profit. So while I'm in poverty, doing this show, it's the principle of the thing. It's the principle of the thing. But there are 20 small business deductions that you need to take a look at. Now, I am not your tax attorney, so please talk with your tax attorney about any stuff that you hear on this radio program. And make certain that when you do use these particular things, I feel like Professor for a moment there. It's like it's warm and cold at the same time. I think I may be coming down with something. But if you are a C corporation, S corporation, partnership, limited liability, or even a sole owner, if you're any of these particular things for the 2015 tax season, you need to pay careful attention to these particular write-offs. Number one, I'm traveling to see Civitas Institute down in Cary, North Carolina. I'll be staying overnight at a hotel because I have to cover it. Okay, and I'll be doing stories and stuff like that from it, getting information, passing on, disseminating. That's going to be travel. That's going to be time. That's going to be expense. And while I will not be reimbursed for the expense, I do have the right to deduct it. So car and truck expenses. Now, most small businesses use a vehicle, such as a car, a light truck, or a van. The cost of operating the vehicle for business is deductible only if there are required records to prove business usage. So whenever you're traveling, and I'm able to do it because I can report to you on my radio program where I will be and show you that I'm there and report accordingly. But I am sincere in telling you that you should keep a record of all of your travel expenses. If you're using your own car especially, because there are three portions in terms of the use of a vehicle, especially if you put it into operation in the calendar year of the tax season. One is that you have business mileage. Two, that you have personal mileage. And then three, that you have commuter mileage. And while commuting to work is not tax deductible, commuting from your place of work to maybe a place where you're contracted to do work, that's tax deductible. So how much is it in terms of tax deduction? You talk about gasoline, you talk about oil, you talk about just wear and tear on your vehicle. 57.5 cents a mile in 2015. 57.5 cents a mile. So if you drove 3,000 miles, okay, you may be eligible for a good 180 bucks. What was it? No, 1,800 bucks. Somewhere in there, about $1,800 of deductible expenses for your vehicle. So please make sure that you keep a very good tracking of your travel and expenses. Salaries and wages. Now, while payments that sole proprietors, partners, LLC members taken from the business are not salaries, they are non-deductible draws. payments to employees are deductible. That 13-year-old boy who's sitting on your couch playing video games, come in here and clean up my office, and I will give you $100. You can write off the $100 that you paid the kid because that was employment money. He's not old enough to worry about any federal withholding or whatever on that one. So congratulations, you can write that off on your taxes. Then there is contract labor. Now, many small businesses, as you know, I'm a sole proprietor. We're independent contractors. And we serve as independent contractors in meeting other people's labor needs. So the cost of the contract labor is deductible. So be sure that you issue Form 1099 miscellaneous to any such contractor receiving $600 or more from you in 2015. All right? So please make certain that they have gotten their goods. Also, rent on business property. The cost of renting space, an office, storefront, factory, or other type of facility is fully deductible. Let me say that to you one more time. The cost of renting space, an office, storefront, factory, or other type of facility is fully deductible. You can write that stuff off on your taxes. So if you are a hairstylist and you moved out of your mama's kitchen and you went down the street and you rented the storefront, all of the 900 square feet, 650, whoever knows, you can write that off on your taxes. Here's something that a lot of people don't realize. You can write off utilities. Yes, you can write utilities off. Electricity for your facility is fully deductible. Other utility costs include cell phone charges. If you claim a home office deduction, the cost of the first landline to your home is not deductible. If you have a second line, it is deductible utility costs. Utilities you can write off on your taxes. Be proactive. Break the IRS bank. Supplies. Items used on your business. Cleaning supplies. Yes, cleaning up your office, buying cleaning supplies to clean up your office is tax deductible. Now, if I buy cleaning supplies, my wife will make me use them. So I try not to. No. How about office equipment? Dave Milner asked in terms of office equipment. And in fact, rent on machinery and equipment is fully deductible. Now, if you purchase equipment, then you have the right to depreciate said equipment. If you buy a nice new leather chair, you can depreciate that off of your taxes as a business expense. So go for it. Okay. Taxes. If you deduct state and local taxes, sales tax you charge on your goods and services, the amount you collect from your customer is part of your gross receipts. So this deduction is merely a wash. You can also deduct licenses and regulatory fees and taxes on real estate and personal property. Your employer taxes, including the employer share of FICA, FUTA, and state unemployment taxes, are fully deductible. For self-employed business owners, the deduction for half of your self-employment tax is not a business deduction. It is an adjustment to gross income on your personal income tax return. But here's the big thing about that. Being able to deduct half of your taxes reduces your income, which means that your likelihood of refund goes up. So it's not a hurt. It makes certain that you take care of your taxes. Okay. Also repairs. The cost of ordinary repairs and maintenance are fully deductible. However, costs that add to the property's value must be capitalized and recovered through depreciation. So watch out for depreciation costs along the way. Insurance. The cost of your business owner's policy. Malpractice coverage. and business continuation insurance is fully deductible. Your business insurance is fully deductible. And some of you all have been paying business insurance and not writing it off for your taxes. You know, it's just an expense. Don't worry about it, I'll pay you. No, write that thing off on your taxes. The cost of health coverage for self-employed individuals, more than 2% for S corporation shareholders is not a business deduction. Instead, the premiums are deducted on the owner's personal tax return. So for all you S people, okay, it sucks to be you, but make certain that you don't use that in your business. Make certain that you use that in your personal taxes. Commissions that you pay are fully deductible. Somebody else's income is fully deductible to you. Advertising, you know, this sign here, tax deductible, because it's you see it every night on my program, and I'm going to get a new sign. Tax deductible, baby. Guess what else is tax deductible in terms of advertising? Business cards, tax deductible. So advertising, putting your stuff out there on a website, tax deductible. Baby, every moment is a marketing moment. Use it fully. Tax deductible. Okay? My wife hates it. And she won't allow me to put the signs on her car. Her beautiful new car. Smooches. But on the old car, sure, no problem. So what you do is you buy magnetic signs and you put them on the side of your car and you drive. You're advertising. You can write off the business mileage. Just saying. Travel. If you or staff members travel out of town on business, the cost of transportation and lodging is fully deductible. Fully deductible. You must meet substantiation requirements explained in IRS Publication 463 to claim any travel deduction. However, local commuting costs usually are non-deductible. But if you're a contractor, leaving your job, going to a place where you have to do a service, deductible. Legal and professional fees are fully deductible. Getting trademarked is deductible. The expenses I paid, I would deduct from my tax return. Yes, it's okay to be trademarked, baby, because I'm writing that off for my taxes. Home office. A portion of personal expenses of a home office are deductible. Be very careful, because you got to be able to make certain. My office is my office right here. So, now, some of the great things about that is the mortgage interest or the rent that you pay in your property, you can write off. Real estate taxes, you can write off a percentage of that. Utility bills, you can write off a portion of that, and so on. Meals and entertainment, these costs are deductible only up to 50%. But if you're traveling here to Washington for CPAC, record that stuff. Keep records of how much you're spending. When you're holding conversations with people over dinner, make certain that you throw in your show. Write that thing off, man. I'm telling you, every moment. Interest or business indebtedness. And finally, let me go with a conclusion here. And I want to thank the great people at smallbiztrends.com for providing this information. But determine which of the tax deductions for small business on the list you can take on your 2015 business return. Discuss your situation with a CPA or a tax advisor to make sure you have done all that is required to qualify for a specific deduction. Let me just say this in finality to my cohorts in the field of conservative talk. You pay a heavy price for the privilege of coming before people to talk about Christianity, conservatism, constitutionalism, and capitalism. By golly, be as proactive as you possibly can to make certain that the federal government pays for trying to tax you for doing something that the founding fathers said you could do for free. A friend of mine once told me, to live boldly, do not die a coward. I promise you I always will. From all of us here at the Exceptional Conservative Show, we want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We will be back tomorrow night, God willing. And screw the creek. If the creek rises and God wills me to be back, I still will be here. But I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. And always remember, without a shadow of a doubt, God bless America. It's time for America to bless God. Smooches. We'll see you next week. No. Not next week. Not next week. We'll see you tomorrow night for a very special show. I'm trying to put together a very special show. I hope that it works. Good night and God bless. Yeah, baby.